I will keep this as the starting point, and we will do a small exercise now, okay, in which we elaborate this concept using a very day-to-day example, right. That will be one part of the workshop. The second part of the workshop will be, if we have we will have some time, we will actually work through your research which you have already done. So, you might have done a master's or a PhD work. We will try and extract some questions and hypotheses that you have done, and try and see if how you relate this to that. See, all these things you have already followed, except that you might not have placed these things within this terminology, okay. So, which is we will start here. So, main steps in scientific method are observation, hypothesis, prediction, test, okay. In between comes the question, literature survey, communication, right. So, this is the broad steps. So, keep this in mind. Now, one of the questions that was asked here was, how do you formulate a question, okay. So, how do you formulate a good question, how do you formulate a good hypothesis? Both are very important, because unlike textbook problems, people have already solved it. Here we do not even know what the question is. So, just having a nice observation does not mean we have got a good question. Actually, a lot, I have not exactly marked it here, a lot of literature survey needs to be done even at this stage to arrive at a question. So, one of the things that we ask students here, I do not know whether it is there in your colleges, is to undergo one semester of what we call as a seminar credits, okay. So, they research on the problem for 6 months and try to come up with a proposal. So, essentially what they are doing is, you give them a broad area of work and say that, sometimes, as I said, now as a supervisor you have to formulate the question. It is not that just because you are become from PhD you become supervisor, you know how to formulate the question. Even we, after 10-15 years, cannot formulate a question so easily. Again, keep this in mind, if a question was so easily formulatable, people would have done it before us, okay. So, with experience only we try to find out which questions are important, why it has got some implication, significance and so on, that comes through experience. So, just because we have graduated does not mean you are going to formulate a question. So, the process of question formulation itself takes time. So, which is why we ask students to undergo a process of literature. So, there are lots of observations that are done in a particular area. Some people would have done computer simulation, some people would have done experiments, some other would have done some theory, but still something might be missing to find that gap, right. So, gap analysis is what you said, something is known, something else is not known, that is observed, that is not explained, that is the gap. Identify the gap first, from that gap choose a question which you can address in a short time, which is like 6 months to 1 year time. Find the gap, find a question which you can address in 1 year time, not 4 years time of PhD, that will never work, because you can have that intention, but usually what will happen is, you start with a question, it will completely change the way you think, and you probably might hit another topic which is more interesting. So, formulate a question which you can address in 6 months to 1 year's time, that is all you have to keep the immediate goal to be, not 4 years. That is why we have the so called annual progress seminar or annual research seminar and so on. We are talking about 1 year's time, see what you can address. So, find out a question which you can address in 1 year, okay. Now, that itself is going to take 6 months to formulate a question. So, the first thing that you do is, you may or may not have students now, because colleges that you go may not have master's degree students, even if they are there, they may just be beginning. But then this is an exercise that you have to do, because you are going to take up a new area or probably extend anything that you have done before. So, do an extensive research, of various papers. People have asked, start with Scopus. I hope your colleges have Scopus. If not, we can ask MHRD to give you access to IIT Bombay Scopus or something. We can work on that, you do not worry about that, but at least you will get some access to Scopus. At least if they do not have, I think we should propose them that they be given some user account within IIT Bombay that they can access Scopus. So, please do start researching the areas to find good questions. Okay. So, next few months I heard that in some colleges they have exempted you from teaching the first semester, but I think some others have had to start immediately. But whatever it is, try to spend this time because whatever it is said, your work is 3 years contractual, right, it is not a permanent position, and the place you will be judged is in this 3 years how much did you do to research and teaching, mainly research. Everywhere including IIT Bombay we are gauged mainly by research, teaching is there, but only after you have done research, it is not just only teaching, you cannot do much. Before even you start doing your experiments, you have to start with hypothesis. Okay. In the afternoon session we will go into more detail how do we write a paper, okay, how do we write papers and how do we write proposals. Now again we will keep this as the basis. Before even you start doing experiments, doing is here, this is where experiments doing is there, this is the experiments. Even if you are experimentalist, your work starts here. Even experimentalist should have hypothesis and a prediction. Okay, it is not that a theoretician needs hypothesis and theoretician needs a prediction, no, even an experimentalist needs a hypothesis. It may not be in the form of a equation. Okay, a theoretician would write the hypothesis in models and equations, like the problem of air conditioning that he said, that is a theoretician's or a way of looking at it. But an experimentalist also needs to have a guess, where do I look for an answer. Okay. So that is where hypothesis is important. Experimentalists should have a hypothesis before even they start doing experiments. Okay, we will tell you the importance as we do the afternoon session, and then some prediction. Please do a good survey, find out a good questions, maybe few questions, and survey the literature and see what have people have answered. Hypothesis is basically answer, it is a guess answer. Okay, it is a guess answer, it is a guess. Until it is proven by a test, it is just a guess. So come up with questions, come up with possible answers. So next 6 months if you are able to do this, you will certainly be able to guide your research a little bit the following a couple of years. At least you will have something in your hand. After this 3 years you can show that in spite of all these things I could do at least this amount of research. So I am going to pose a problem. Now first what you will do is to try and write down what you think the answer is. Okay. Then after a minute you will discuss and I will tell you where you should look for pitfalls. So then you can look at pitfalls in your partner's thing and partner will also point out to you, and then we will discuss throughout the class. Okay. Alright, now let us start with an observation. So the observation is, okay, let me just first describe the situation which is like the topic. Okay, the situation is as follows. You are taking a bus every day to your college. Most of the time the bus comes at 9 o'clock. At most it will take 10 more minutes to come. It has never crossed 10 minutes. That is the current situation. Okay. So, I am using these words current situation, which is very much important in your literature survey as well. So, you are taking an area, you need to first describe what the current situation is before coming to the question. Okay. So, you are broadly describing that this is the current situation, okay, and then you describe something which is unusual, okay, which is the observation, and from the observation you ask a question, okay. So, current situation, then the observation is it is 9:20 AM and the bus has not arrived. Current situation broadly, and the current observation now is, this is the unusual observation that you have seen. Usual is 9:10, it is never crossed 9:10. Today 9:20 the bus has not come, okay. So, what would be the question here? Why the bus has not arrived? So, it is very important, the question has to be a proper English question. Why, what, where, when, how, okay. So, in this case, why? Alright. So, now what we will do is a series of, we have got the question, we will do a series of hypothesis and prediction. Hypothesis is a answer, guess answer, but it is a cause of something. Hypothesis is a cause for this effect. So, keep this cause effect in mind. Cause leads to effect, okay. This is the observation, hypothesis is the cause which has led to the effect, okay. What is prediction? Prediction is also an effect with the same underlying cause, okay. Very often students get confused about what is cause and what is effect, okay. So, hypothesis is the cause which will explain effect. First of all, the hypothesis has to explain, has to be reasonably explaining this. You cannot give an hypothesis which does not do this, then that is not a good hypothesis, that is not at all a hypothesis. At least you should explain this, but that is not enough. If this is true, it should also have another effect which we call prediction, another effect which has not been observed, that is all. It is called a prediction because it has not been observed. I predict that this will happen. If I go and do it, I may or may not observe. If I observe, then it is fine. If I do not, then the hypothesis fails, okay. So, prediction and observation are all this rectangle, this rhombus I have put, what is this? Parallelogram, yeah. So, I have put this, they are all effects, these are causes, cause leads to effect. Now, what you will be doing is write down a hypothesis and a prediction. What you have to check with your partner is if what they have written is a prediction, is a effect or a cause. See, this cause itself can have another cause. This may be an effect because of some other fundamental cause. Most often we have seen that people get confused of cause, effect of that is what is required. Instead they will say what is the cause of this, okay. You will know when you go through this exercise now that this kind of mismatch can happen, okay. So you have to check from your partner whether they have got it right, okay. So the first step that you are going to do is write hypothesis, okay. So each of you write one hypothesis, okay, and a corresponding prediction. First of all, you have to check whether this hypothesis is the cause for this effect. First, that is a check you have to do, number one. Check number two, whether this is what you have said is an effect of this same cause, okay. And the third thing, whether this effect can be tested. So is the hypothesis, the prediction from the hypothesis, is it testable? You cannot tell something which you cannot test. You cannot do an experiment to observe, because if you cannot do an experiment to observe this, then you cannot tell whether it is true or false, okay. It has to be falsifiable, that is, there has to be a prediction which is testable. So now I am going to write down one by one, okay, on the board, and then we will discuss about. I am not going to tell it is right or wrong now, but so I hope you got a chance to review and as well as correct it a little bit. Now can I have your hypothesis? Sit down please. Heavy traffic. Okay. What was the prediction? Bus? No, what is the prediction for heavy traffic? Huh? Bus? Bus could not reach where? Huh? Stop, okay. Okay. Prediction? Anything is covered, leave it. And next. So technical failure, prediction. Prediction is lack of maintenance. Yeah, next. 2, 2, 2, huh. One minute, I'll just go by one. Hmm. Uh, okay, that's technical. Okay, some of them, as I said, the cause effect is not proper. Either the cause is not leading to this effect, or the prediction is not a effect of the same cause. So a traffic signal failure or a festive gathering will lead to a heavy traffic, which will lead to bus coming late. You got that? Exactly the case I pointed out. You have to identify an effect of this cause, not another cause for this effect. So this also could be an observation, right? Heavy traffic could be an observation, cause of it festive gathering, cause of it traffic failure, but not a prediction of this when it's a hypothesis. Okay, anything else? Race, huh? 6 started late. Technical fault is a cause why it started late. It's not the effect of this. Okay, then third one, lack of maintenance will lead to a technical failure, and not technical failure will lead to lack of maintenance. Then okay, so by and large you identified the faults in the prediction, but now first of all uh, you have to okay, so for example the last one, what will be the test? All the buses in the same route should be late, correct? Heavy traffic, a very simple modern technology. GPS? No, not GPS. GPS is, it tells you where you are, it doesn't tell you where. Check on Google Earth, on Google Maps, right? So what will be the, so give me a statement of prediction for Google Maps. It has to be clear statement. If there is heavy traffic, then what? What in Google Maps? How will you write that statement? So it has to be heavy traffic is your hypothesis. So if it is heavy traffic, then you should say compared to the normal days, Google Maps, that section in your route should show a darker shade of red. Should show. Remember, we are telling a prediction which has not been observed yet. like will show, will seen, will be seen and so on. So, you should say the prediction is Google Maps will show a darker shade of red for this route. So, it is a clear statement of prediction. So, it is the same class as this. Now, you can also ask, if it is an observation already, Google Maps shows a heavier red in this traffic, that is an observation. Then you can ask why. So, that is definitely a traffic jam. Now, you can ask for fundamental reasons and you can say things like festive gathering. Okay. So, that becomes a question, that becomes a hypothesis for that question, why is it having heavy traffic. But for heavy traffic, the prediction is something should show, like in this case Google Maps should show. Okay. So, this you identified, failure will not come for next 30 minutes, okay. Also is, it is a okay effect, but it is not very strong prediction, okay. Many other things will not lead to it coming for 30 minutes. So, that is not a very strong prediction. Like for example, in Google Maps, color is related to traffic density. Okay. Now, something that is not going to come for next 30 minutes can be several other things. So, just because you wait for another 30 minutes and you show that I am right, that does not give you a good confidence in your hypothesis, correct. So, you need to come up with a better hypothesis here. Timetable change means that normally governments are expected to publish it somewhere, either web or somewhere. So, just that you did not check. So, that is a valid prediction and it is a very specific thing. Timetable change, look for new timetable on there, it has to have show a change. But here it is not a very strong prediction. Strike, other buses will also not ply, okay, which is also a strong prediction, but yeah, that is also fun. Started late, technical fault. What about this? It started late, anyone? Now, if I ask a question, why did it start late, you can say technical fault. So, this leads to this, not this leads to this. This is the cause, this is the effect. So, started late, okay. So, the prediction would be that it has to come whatever late, but it is not a very strong hypothesis. So, this I would say is a poor hypothesis, it is not wrong, but it is not very effective like this one, and because you normally know that within 10 minutes it comes, this is something unusually long time, okay. So, that way it is not a wrong hypothesis, it is not a very good hypothesis. So, special occasion and route change. So, you are saying there is some special occasion, there is some construction happening, or there is some minister visiting, crossing somewhere, or there is some festival around that place, okay. So, what would be a confirmation of this hypothesis? See, this special occasion, they would have changed the route, but is special occasion the reason? Like route change itself can be a hypothesis for which you say you check the web, but how do we get confirmation for special occasion? So you need to look for things which are supporting this hypothesis. Okay, route change itself can be an hypothesis, but this does not necessarily lead to this. Because of special occasion, they might have just cancelled the bus altogether. Okay, so for special occasions, supporting special occasion, you need to find a prediction which is supporting this hypothesis strongly. Okay, like for example, see the news or look for announcements in radios or whatever. So you should say in that case, again, many times the prediction you state it as look for this, that is not a prediction, that is comes in the test, small difference is there, both are related. For example, special occasion, or let us take this heavy traffic. Heavy traffic prediction is look for Google Maps, that is not a prediction, that is an action that you have to do, you are saying do something, that is action. Okay, differentiate between action which is like doing an experiment and that something should happen after that experiment has been performed. Okay, small difference. Heavy traffic, look at Google Maps is the action, that is the experiment you are going to perform. The prediction is something should show, something will happen, that is like a future thing that you are saying. Okay, so the way you construct this has to be clear within yourself. Prediction is if there is heavy traffic, Google Maps should show a darker shade of red. Test, look for that area in Google Maps is a test. So when you are telling do an action, that is a test, that is not a prediction. Many times it happens that you will be trying, to fix the problem, like in the first thing when you started guessing for the monitor failure, you guessed it, but you are all trying to fix the problem. For simple problems it comes out naturally, we can fix the problem. How should I check this switch, that switch, phase and so on. But that is not so easy in research. If it was so easy, people would have solved it before. So you need to be clear that what is the question that you are asking, corresponding hypothesis, and see the prediction should be if this were true then I should observe this. Okay? Then you plan your experiments. If I have to observe this, what kind of experiments I should do? Okay? What is the set of experiments I should do? This is also I am telling you as an experimentalist, not necessarily theoretician. Theoretician will write equations, but an experimental should have a intuitive feeling that okay, I think this could be the answer, because in these systems which I read from literature, it is showing similar things, so this could be the answer. If this is an answer, then I should observe something else, should observe. If I have to observe that, what is the experiment I have to do to observe that? Okay? So I can tell you one small DIY kind of recipe, but again do not get stuck to it, it is not so easy. Whenever you are thinking of a question, okay, you come up with an answer, think of a graph or a table or an image, okay, because ultimately you have to come up with evidence. Evidence is data. Data is presented in graphs, in tables or in images. So whenever you think of a question, okay, and you say this is the possible answer, then if that is the answer, then I should observe what? Should observe, okay, future, should observe, think immediately of a graph. Okay. If my hypothesis is true, then this property, whatever that property, should be like that, something. Think of that graph. Now, once you have thought of that graph in mind, okay, in fact, this is one of the way I am going to tell you how to write a paper, right. You think that this is how it is going to behave, even though you have not, today you have started the experiment, you have not even started the experiments, but you should have this graph in mind. Say that it is going to decrease, okay, you are not doing any injustice, it is not that you are cheating yourself, no. If you go and tell everybody, then you are cheating, but here you are going to plan your experiments. So, if I need this graph, what is the experiment I have to do to measure y as a function of x? Okay. What is the set of experiment I have to do? Then it gives you a plan for doing the experiment. Okay. So, that is the test. So, it gives you a plan to do the experiments, and then once you do the experiment, suppose if you find that it is not like this but it is like this, you reject the hypothesis. Now that you have got additional data, you can come up with a better hypothesis which answers this as well as answers your earlier observation. But it is always important, even as an experimentalist, to have this. You may not have the mathematical model behind it, nobody wants that, nobody expecting everything of everybody. Some are very good at intuitively thinking what will happen, some are good at writing equations only, then the solution of that only they are convinced, which is okay, there are two different ways to do it. But as an experimental, you should have this in mind, it is not only for theoreticians. What is the one important question you addressed in MTech? Okay. Again, think of the answer first, think of an answer in terms of a data, okay, which could be a graph or some contour plot or some image or some table. Formulate a question from that. That is the first thing that we will do. You write the question in about couple of sentences, okay. Now, the question and the answer, this is the main result, should correspond to each other, okay. So, whatever result that you have got here, okay, the question should correspond to that, okay. And then we will tell you, we will do another small activity where I will tell you how to structure your question and an answer, and from there we will go on to elaborating it to a paper, okay, and then a proposal. So, we will go through the technical writing, after which it's technical writing in the sense of writing papers and writing detailed reports. Okay. Now, many of these things are what I discussed in the morning, that we have question, we gather data, okay, which is doing experiment after having all that hypothesis and all. Essentially, overall picture is question, we gather data, and from that the hypothesis, which was a possible answer, becomes a answer after you have shown it to be true, okay. The prediction is true, therefore the answer is the answer to the question you started off with, okay. Essentially, this is research, right. Now, it does not stop here, after that we also need to share it. So, that is where the writing comes, and just as the way the research itself is done in a systematic manner, that is my Google, it says it cannot make out what I say. Yeah. So, just as we have a systematic way to do the research, there is also a reasonably systematic way to write the research, okay. So, that is what we will be talking about, and which will cover most of the aspects of the scientific method in a different way. Although you might not have known it as a scientific method, we will discover it. Now, why write? So, actually, when do you begin to write your thesis? When do you begin to write your report or a thesis or a paper? Now, we write for various reasons. One is for us to remember, okay, something that is written and when you read, you recollect it clearly and better. Then other thing is, as and when you read, some of you pointed out, you begin to write even that time. Okay. So tomorrow, not tomorrow, one of these sessions will also tell you briefly about reading and literature survey if there is time, but most of you already know most of it. The second level is to understand. So difference between remembering and understanding is slightly subtle. You will learn about this little more tomorrow's class when you say different levels of learning. So first level of learning is recollection, which is remember. The next level is you remembered lot of facts. How do you connect them? So when you connect different facts, that's what you call it as an understanding. That is, you know something, you learned something new, how do you connect to that? So that's what is called as understanding. Remember, so these are all different pedagogical things which will come up in tomorrow's later classes, but remember, understand is linking all these concepts, not just recollecting. Okay, this is simply omitting whatever you have, but this is trying to relate to many concepts. Try to see patterns in existing concepts and try to find implications. So all these things are important, not at the end of the research. Okay, as and when you do research, when you start writing these things, you begin to see patterns from many other things that you already know. So that's why it's important to write whatever is little as and when you do the research. And finally, to test your thinking. Sometimes when you write an argument, you see it more objectively, as though somebody else has written and you can criticize it. Whereas when you just think it for yourself, it is very difficult. Suppose we formed an opinion, we tend to stick to that. You formed an hypothesis, you tend to stick to that. But if you see it written on, say, let's say a partner's paper at that time, or when we wrote on the board, you saw it objectively, whether this is a cause or an effect. You could see it and analyze it, right? We saw in the morning. So when you write it, it has gone out on a paper. You see it more objectively, not that you as a person has written it, so that's why it has to be true. Now when you see it there, you are able to see it more objectively, the arguments, and it kind of tests your thinking whether you are right in this hypothesis, where you should have considered some other hypothesis and so on. See, sometimes if you see the scientific literature, you will see that they are all organized in a very standard form: introduction, then materials and methods or formulation, and then results, discussion, conclusion. Why everybody follows the same thing? Why people are not allowed to do it like in a story? Like in fiction stories, it need not be always linear, no? You can mix up different things, bring in a story in another story, take 2 or 3 parallel lines, switch between that. We don't do that in papers, right? Why are we not doing that? The reason is we are trying to build trust, because these are something unknown. This is not fiction, right? We are trying to communicate to others what we have found, and if you do it by this method, they also can see the same result. That is the objective. So you need to build this trust. So one of the first things where you build trust is to follow certain norms. Okay. So when we say, so how do you build the trust? It starts at your lab. So first of all, your students must trust other results that is coming from within the lab. Then you must trust your students. Then the next level of trust is people in the department must trust that, okay, person from here has followed certain scientific methodology and they are doing it in a proper way, so I trust their work. and then it goes to the institute, wider community, international, and so on. So, this circle of trust starts at the lab level. So, in all these things, the underlying principle is the scientific method that leads to a fairly uniform report structure. Now, I will show you a relationship between the scientific method and the structure a little later on. Everything has this abstract intro, methods, results, conclusion. Maybe there is discussion there. Now, I am going to try and relate scientific method to the paper. So, there is an observation, question, literature survey, hypothesis, prediction and test. The research basically started out with a question and came with an answer. Okay. Now, this structure, which we did not discuss in detail, but I'm going to discuss later, is a question has got a structure, 3 elements to a question. Similarly, the answer or the hypothesis has got 3 elements. Okay. Question TQS, just remember this, TQS, okay, topic, question, significance. Answer is CRE, claim, reason, evidence. Okay. So, what we will do now is take your question that I have asked you to write there. So, this is the question part and this is the answer part. Okay. Although I have asked you to put it as an image, okay, or a data, you have to convert it into that form. All right. Now, let us start with the question. All right. You have to write the question with these 3 parts. For example, you can say that I work on or I worked on the topic, okay, where I wanted to find out, okay, you can write this down. I worked on dash, I worked on dash, where I wanted to find out dash, which is dash or which is important because something like that, okay, which is important because dash, okay. So, I worked on dash where I wanted to find out dash. So, when you say question, it has to be where I wanted to find out who, what, where, when, why, how, some question, okay. Then the significance is because it is important in it has got some application, that significance will come like that, okay. So, now just take 1 minute or 2 minutes and rewrite your question in this form, the structure that I told you. So, broadly, so the thing is, the folk tales is a specific aspect. So, can you just broadly give a, like for example, people are not from language. So, you want to just say, I worked on creative writing, okay, I worked on creative writing is the topic broadly, okay. Promoting and all are extra, that comes in a detail. So, topic need not be a title of your thesis, okay. Topic simply tells you broadly what the area is, so that people kind of quickly understand, okay, it is in this area, right. So, that's, so creative writing can be a topic, yes. I worked on creative writing, okay, where I wanted to find out, I worked on creative writing, where I wanted to find out what or how can you measure creativity, what is it or how, what? No, take one important finding of your research. I worked on creative writing where I wanted to find out how to develop creative writing through folklores, okay. So, how to develop creative writing through folklores. Now, he has stated this question. Now, the answer must correspond to this. The next step we will write the answer, it has to correspond to this. If it does not correspond, you have to rewrite the question, okay. Now, the question is how to develop creativity using folklores. Question is that I worked on creative writing where I wanted to understand how to develop creativity using folklores. What is the significance of this? The reason I am telling you all these things is the next part of the thing is the proposal writing. In proposal writing, you have to defend why they have to give you funds to do work on a particular aspect. So, which means the main thing that they will consider are what question you have selected and what is its importance to that particular agency which is giving you funds. Okay, so you need to articulate the significance also. So, in your case you should tell what is the significance of either creativity or the significance of folklore in creativity, something of that sort you have to build in, okay, fine. So, can I have yours please? Power system stability, okay. So, the topic should be reasonably well meaning to any science graduate, okay. Do not make it too specific to your field or very narrow area, okay. Power systems people understand, stability you will understand, but after that we may not, but that is okay, yes, okay. Where she wanted to find out the effect of parameters on the electrical stability, okay. So, now the question is clear, what are the effects various parameters has on the stability. So, now if you think in terms of a graph, I have stability, I do not know how I am going to measure stability, but I think I have some stability on the y axis, on the x axis I have parameter 1, another graph parameter 2, another graph parameter 3. So, that has to be clear, at least she has that, but now the hypothesis when you come, you propose that it will decrease or it will increase or something like that, okay. So, that has to be clear, think of a data, yes. Now, what is the significance? So, now this really, although she has given you some idea, but this really does not touch in which area does it was important. People who work in electrical turbines they can understand, but into general audience you need to make it a little more simpler where these things are important. For example, you could ask a question, what if I do not do this, okay. To find out what is the significance of the study, you ask a question, what if I do not do this, so what, okay. Ask a question, so what, so what, why should I do this, why should I fund you, how is it important for me, how is it important for the society, right. Ask that question, so what. What do you mean by system here? So what, if a power system goes to blackout, what happens? Okay, so say that. So, the importance of this, so sometimes we will go the one proposal, you need to give this with some numbers. So, this is important because, okay, give some numbers. In India maybe so many systems have so many frequent shutdowns or blackouts, okay. So, that is something people in general can understand, need not necessarily politicians, but I am saying even people can understand who are broadly, okay, she is working in power systems broadly, that if it fails, power system fails, the general failure will happen. So, I am trying to understand various parameters. So, try to ask questions like this, so what, keep asking so what questions till you simplify to an extent where you can reach out to broad audience. Okay. So, I will not go through many more topics, but let us see how this is TQS. Okay. Topic is fine. Now, the question is essentially in the scientific method from an observation. So, in this, let us take this power system as an example, where the observation is that there are failures, say 20% failures for some number, I am just telling arbitrarily. Okay. There are 20% failures in Indian power systems, but in the West or in advanced countries the failure rate is much less, say 5%. Okay. I am just telling some hypothetical situation. So, that is the observation. So, the question is, what are the parameters that influences the stability and therefore the power blackout of these systems. So, that question exactly forms your, the one that comes from scientific method is the question. Now, once she formed that question, she also had this in mind. On the y axis stability measured by something, x axis some parameters. So, can you name any one parameter? Slip of, okay, speed of generator. Okay, speed of generator versus some stability parameter. Now, you already have one graph in mind. Okay. Now, how do you, before you started your research, you do some literature survey. You knew that in some cases it behaves, because if it is already solved, this question is not worth solving. But based on similar things, maybe for let us say there are two turbines. Okay. For turbine A, which is based on one principle, the speed goes is constant, the stability is independent of the speed. Okay. For turbine A, stability is independent of speed. Now, in India we are using a different turbine, okay, turbine B. So, based on your literature, you say that the principle of operation of these two turbines are similar. So, I expect that turbine, India turbine will also be independent of speed, which means I have already got my graph ready, stability versus RPM, speed, some speed. So, it should be some constant. Okay. So, this I already have at the beginning of my research, not at the end of my research. So, now I clearly know I need to do some experiments to measure stability against RPM, which means I have to procure some turbines in which it is of different, which can go at different velocity or whatever. So, that gives you a plan to make a proposal. I need this turbine, I need this power, I need this one, and so on. So, you have to have the hypothesis even before you start doing anything. You have to have the hypothesis. The hypothesis here is this. Okay, it is independent. Okay. So, the claim here is that the speed is independent of speed, sorry, stability is independent of speed. That is the claim, which is the claim means hypothesis is the claim. Reason, why do you think, okay, stability is independent of speed? Based on previous work, which is the literature. So, that is how you connect literature to reason. Based on my previous work that people have done, based on previous, I can make a claim, which is the hypothesis, that stability is independent of speed. Okay, so that's how you construct the possible answer. And of course, now this is at the beginning of the research. Once you have done the research, okay, so if it is independent of this one, then it will by measuring stability versus this, I will get a constant. So that is your kind of evidence that you have to gather. That is after your research. So your scientific method is tied to your what you communicate as a question and an answer. So all that you communicate technically can be simply one question and one answer. Okay. Now the same thing you have to elaborate to a thesis, okay, which may be 100 pages. You might be giving a 5-minute talk or a 1-hour lecture. So the crucial thing must be there, the essential thing must be there clear in your mind, that this is the question I am solving, this is this, and it is closely related to your scientific method. Okay. All right. So now again I am going to tell you one way that you start planning your research as well as writing it. So writing, as I said, does not start after you finish, but actually before you start your research. So the hypothesis that you make before you start your research are called as working hypothesis. Okay, they are called working hypothesis because they are not yet proven. Okay, you need something to start off with. So you cannot, even an experimentalist needs some hypothesis. The working hypothesis is something you start off with. If that is the thing, what is the evidence I need to gather? Like this, think of the experiment and say, what is the evidence I need to gather to test it? More importantly, if you say, okay, you need to keep in mind always that the hypothesis that you are making is a working hypothesis. Don't get stuck to it, don't get infatuated by it just that because you got the idea. Until and unless it is proven true, the prediction from that hypothesis is proven true, you will not know whether it is right. You should be able to reject it after maybe even 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, whatever it is. But it is not an effort that is gone in waste. Because why is it an effort not gone in waste? You took an hypothesis, okay? After 3 years of the study, you found that it is not valid, okay? And I am claiming that this is not an effort that is gone in waste. Why? Yeah, so yeah, but why is the effort not considered waste? See, suppose if it was true, the reason that the hypothesis that you came up with is true, then it is good. People will accept that, okay, it's good, even this system shows like this. But if it fails, no, but 3 years of work has gone waste, no? Exactly. Now, this hypothesis that you came up with, nobody else had come up with before, otherwise you wouldn't have been pursuing it, right? So from your literature survey, you found that this particular thing was not explored, but it was possible, which means that somebody else in some other part of the world could also come up with similar things later on, maybe not today, maybe after next year or something like that. Now, even that is worth publishing or communicating, because although it seems to be a reasonable hypothesis, it failed. So, any other person who is working on that area need not pursue that hypothesis. That is one of the rejected things, leave it, look for somewhere else. That is what you are telling the world.
But in literature, we don't find some.
Literature you did not find, that is why you pursued it, that is why you pursued it. Okay, no, I did not get you, sorry, what is the question?
The hypothesis which is not successful, these kind of hypotheses we didn't find in the literature. The one who is going to publish, they only publish that.
No. So, usually, they may not publish one paper entirely on that. It is not that they have, but when they solve it, okay, say let us say hypothesis 1 failed, then hypothesis 2 was working, but when they report hypothesis 2, they will also report hypothesis 1 saying that this failed because of this reason. We thought this will work, but something else in our assumption was not right, so it is gone. So, it is worth publishing it, definitely in a thesis. If not in a detailed paper by itself, it may not go through, but some of the cases it can go through. If many people thought it was a very difficult experiment to perform, for example, but everybody thought that the hypothesis is true, but it was very difficult to perform that experiment. You did that experiment and showed that it is not possible. So, in which case it is publishable. Okay. Now, very important thing is that what if you do not have a working hypothesis? You had a question, but you do not have a answer. Okay. I will give you one small analogy. Okay. Let us say there are 3 ways, that is one way, this is second way, third way, and say 4 ways. 4 ways there are there. Now, I am saying that behind those windows, let us say there are some magical doors. One of those 4 magical doors, behind which there is some treasure. There is a treasure behind one of those magical doors. My objective is to find the correct way among these 4 to reach that treasure. Okay. Analogy is, that is my answer that I am seeking. I do not know which is the correct answer, right, but I need to take a guess at the beginning. I might take guess that it is this way. So, that is, this hypothesis is leading me to one destination. My point is, you have to have a guess at the beginning. If you do not have a guess, you do not know where you are going to take your first step. It is exactly same as this. Our research is, you need to know tomorrow what experiment you are going to do, tomorrow what equation you are going to solve, or what computer model you are going to simulate. Tomorrow, I am not talking about 6 months down the lane, tomorrow what you have to do, you need to know, and for that you need to have a working hypothesis. After doing all these things, after 2 years you might find that there is no treasure there, but you have found an important thing you can report to the world, that way number 2 should not be pursued. Okay? You are telling everybody, do not go by that way, it is not there. But before going, you need to say, okay, tomorrow I am going to go by that way. This 2 years I have spent here, it is not working, I think it is there. If it is there, I have to do this, and therefore this, and therefore this. So, tomorrow I have to take my first step doing this particular experiment. So, similarly, you need to have a working hypothesis. If you do not have a working hypothesis, it means your question is not proper. You have not sharpened the question enough. So go and rewrite the question. It may be too broad. Okay, chop it down to some elementary level. Bring it down to a smaller level question for which you can come up with a hypothesis. Okay, so come up with a hypothesis for that question and say that now I have a working hypothesis. Now I know what I need to do tomorrow. Okay, and so relating this to the next topic we will be doing on proposal writing, we will know how to make a proposal, a plan for next 6 months or next 1 year. Okay, all right. Usually when you begin your research, you don't start with one hypothesis. After you done a literature survey, you come up with 2 or 3 hypotheses which are good equally, because you don't know which is right. So for each hypothesis, you have to say why you think, that is the claim is the hypothesis, reason is why you think that this way is better. Okay, so I might say that because it is little brighter there, just like that. Okay, so that way you need to have gone through your literature to show why it is important, why should I follow that way. So that is the reason. And if this is the way I am going to take, what is my first step? Okay, what are the possible evidences that I am going to take? Today I am going to gather this type of evidence, tomorrow I will do that experiment, next month I will do that experiment, and so on. So for hypothesis 1, I have a series of plan. Hypothesis 2, I have a series of plan. So you started to write all these things before you starting your research. This is what you should tell your students also to do. Of course, you may not have time to do this, but ask them to work on this on a kind of weekly basis. What is it they are planning to do should be broken down into this kind of immediate goals. Okay. Now once you have this idea, you are going to write it down in a form which we are calling as a storyboard. Okay. A storyboard is something, I think you can tell, folklore. What's your name, sir? Amit. Amit, can you tell what is a storyboard? Storyboard. Don't you use storyboard for your writing? Okay. Okay, storyboard is basically when you're writing a novel or so in movies you have a story and they have a screenplay. You know what's the difference between story and a screenplay? No, not necessarily. Anybody else? Difference between movie story and a screenplay. Screenplay involves a dialogue also, but little more coarse grained. Huh? No. Visual sequence. Okay. A story in most of the novels is actually very small. Somebody came, this happens, done. You can write it in a Wikipedia page. Story. Screenplay is how do you play it out in different sequence. Which comes first, which comes next, which two things go parallelly, or you go in flashback later. That is screenplay. Screenplay is a depiction of a story in a particular form. So a story is very small, you write it in a novel is in one sequence, that is a screenplay. You put it on the screen, which comes first, then which is the flashback, then the future comes, all those things, the sequence in the actual sequence it is played is the screenplay. Story might be very small. So this method of storyboarding is used in screenplay writing and in novel writing, that once you have the story, you put different bits and pieces of the story on a big board, okay, and then place them. So this event first, then the flashback, then the future, and like that. So putting it like that is called as the storyboarding, or writing the putting the story in a nice creative sequence. That's called a storyboarding. So we are not be following exactly that way, but we are going to make papers, okay, which we can paste it in principle. So what are these papers? So these are these different papers that we are going to have. So let us start with the topic. Okay, topic, then the question. The question will have multiple hypotheses. So in this page, you write topic and write the claims, or the possible answers. Claim 1, claim 2, claim 3. Now for each claim, you have one paper. Claim 1 will have one paper, claim 2 will have another, claim 3 will have another. So for each claim, I need to say why I think the reason, that is based on literature. Based on literature, why do I think this claim answers this question, and what is the possible evidence I have to gather. Similarly, for hypothesis 2, reason, evidence, hypothesis 3, reason, evidence. Okay. So this is all done, that is before we start the research. Okay, before you start the research, you do all this. Then once you have rejected certain things and accepted one finally, maybe this one will remain. So this one, which was a tentative hypothesis, working hypothesis, becomes the final claim in your paper. You thought that there could be one guess, this is the reason I think it might be an answer, that becomes the reason, and possible evidence which you had planned, that this is the set of experiments I will do, finally you might have done slightly different experiment, that is the final set of experiments. Okay. So now you start, your entire work is ready. Okay. Now each of this evidence, 1, 2, 3 are all graphs or some data or some analysis that you have got from observations or some equations, proofs, whatever they are all evidence. Now take those evidence and we will be basing our next writing on that. So the way we start writing, now once we finish this research, right, we have finished the gathering the evidence, we are going to do it in one particular order. This is one of the ways, many people follow different ways, but this is one of the widely used ways. First thing, during your research, you have to write your methods and results, which I said, possible evidence, you need to say this is the procedure I am going to follow.